Good day and welcome to Spartan Entertainment and Electronics. I'm Ryan, and today I'm going to look again at the electronics side of the channel. When I was doing the build video for my micro ATX system, I promised a video for the Uber rig that I'm working on, and here it is. Some background on this build is in order, I think, as this build is a work of love and has a lot of meaning to me. This build started out as a concept that if I quit smoking, I would put $100 a week, the amount I was spending on cigarettes, off to the side. And as enough weeks passed and the hundreds started stacking up, I would start buying parts. Well, on December 21st, 2019, I was excited enough about this build, amongst other reasons, that I decided to quit and have my last smoke. The parts for this build I currently have, as well as my new computer building addiction, are the result of my no longer smoking. And I wouldn't have them if I was still smoking. I'm nearing being able to buy my next part, although with the current uncertainty of supply and prices, I will probably wait to buy my next couple of parts until the world pandemic has passed and things are returning to normal. This video is intended to be a look at the parts I have currently collected, a quick touch on the parts list I intend to buy at this moment in time, and finally a look at how the remaining parts may change now that I have started my YouTube adventure, and I'm really enjoying video editing and learning how to get better with the programs, and that's going to require a bit of software or hardware upgrading, pardon me. So now that you know the history of how this has come to be, let's jump into the parts that I have so far. Starting with the mouse and keyboard, as I have purchased and am using them already. For the keyboard I went with Corsair K95 RGB Platinum. I was humming and hawing on keyboards and how much I wanted to spend. I really like the gunmetal coloring of this board and was disappointed in the look of other gunmetal colored keyboards, but I didn't want to spend almost $300 Canadian on a keyboard. Fortunately, while on Amazon one day, I saw a flash sale on this keyboard and was able to pick it up for under $200, and to me, that was a no-brainer. It has Cherry MX speed switches, which are hard to get used to because of the short stroke, but now that I've gotten used to them, I absolutely love it. Each key has an independent LED, and the light strip at the top of the board has 19 independent lighting zones. All of the RGB effects are adjustable in the Corsair iQ software, which is challenging to figure out. It's not a super friendly RGB software as compared to other manufacturers' software. iQ has a larger number of features compared to those other manufacturers' software, however, so that there's a bit of a trade-off there. The keyboard itself has 3 onboard memory profiles for RGB settings, and although the settings are limited as to how much you can program into each profile, it's still a nice feature to have. The keyboard feels sturdy as I pound away on it typing and gaming, and I have no regrets about going with this keyboard, and I'm very happy I was able to get it at the price I did. It also came with a removable wrist rest that I am using, and it's comfortable enough. It's more comfortable than my worn-out gel rest. There is a USB 2 input on the rear of the keyboard, however it requires that both of the USB ends be plugged into USB 3. On USB 2, the keyboard requires both leads, one for keyboard functions and one for the RGB functions, so it ends up disabling the USB input. For the mouse, I went with the Corsair just to try and keep the look consistent. I was originally looking at the Razer Naga Trinity, but ended up going with the Corsair Glaive RGB Pro. I really like the feel of the Trinity in my hand, and I like the interchangeable side input faces, but I wanted to reduce the number of RGB softwares that might have been required. The Glaive feels nice in my hand and has interchangeable thumb rests instead of inputs, which is a nice feature and does make the mouse more comfortable to use. The only thing the Trinity had that the Glaive does not is a pinky rest on the right side of the mouse. Now, it was one of the really big selling features of the Trinity, and I wasn't able to find that on any other mouse. If anybody from Corsair happens to watch this video, please look at adding a little pinky rest on the right side of future mice. Any manufacturer, if you happen to be watching this, please consider doing that. I personally really like it. The Glaive does attempt to do something different by flaring out the right side of the mouse a little bit, but it just isn't quite the same. It still feels really comfortable and looks fantastic. It has 3 RGB zones which give the mouse a really solid look. There are 5 adjustable dot per inch settings for the mouse, which can be adjusted along with the RGB in the Corsair iQ software. I picked the Glaive RGB Pro up at my local retailer for about $75 Canadian. That's all the peripherals I have at the moment. I do intend on getting a couple more in my $5,200 budget for this build, but I'll talk about those in the coming soon parts list. Moving right along with the hardware I've purchased for this build, the case I went with is the Lian PC011 Dynamic. It took me several weeks to decide on a case, and it came down to this one or the Fractal Design Meshify C. I ended up getting this one as I was able to get it in stock. I had a really hard time tracking down the Meshify C in white at any retailer. As far as the O11, this looks like it's going to be an amazing case to build in. All aluminum construction, tempered glass side and front panel, space for 9 120mm fans or 3 360mm radiators. You can fit 3 on top, 3 on the side, and 3 on the bottom. The brushed aluminum input-output panel on the front looks fantastic and makes the case pop with a little bit of contrast, and that's with no components in it. The front and both side panels are all screw-free installation, which makes for a very clean looking exterior. The top is only held on by 2 thumb screws at the rear of the case. There are magnetic dust filters at all the fan mounting areas, the top, side, and bottom. Internally, this chassis has 4 2.5-inch mounts, as well as 2 3.5-inch drive bays very strategically placed. There's a ton of space for cable management in behind the motherboard tray, which is also where the power supply is to be mounted. It is possible to mount 2 power supplies if you remove the 3.5-inch drive bay, but I don't anticipate I'll be doing that. The case is long and wide, measuring in approximately 17.5 inches deep and tall, and about 10 5/8 inches wide. This creates ample space for a large video card or a tall CPU cooler. There are 8 expansion slots, having lots of room for multi-GPU setups, or in my case, more likely a GPU and a capture card. I haven't built in this chassis yet, but I am very excited to build in it because of the spacious interior, as well as how I am hoping the white and blue color theme I'm going with will look inside of it. The only downside to this case that I have found so far is that being a $200 case, it comes with 0 case fans. So that is an additional cost on top of the almost $200 Canadian for this case. I think it's worth it, however. For the motherboard, I debated for a while about how much I wanted to spend, but after seeing the Gigabyte Aorus X570 Master in person at my local retailer, nothing else tickled my fancy in quite the same way. The board is massively overkill for anything I intend on throwing at it, but it looks really sharp. Some of the features, other than the aesthetics, that drew me to this board are 3 Generation 4 M.2 slots, integrated Wi-Fi 6, Gigabit internet capacity, board-mounted power switch, an LCD debug readout, more than enough USB 3 ports, as well as headers for case USB 3, and the flash BIOS and clear CMOS buttons. Ultimately, the decision to buy this board came down to how much I really like how it looks. I was able to price match this board at my local retailer and got it for a little under $500. As far as parts that I have ready to mount to the board at current, I have a Western Digital SN750 500GB M.2 NVMe storage drive that I'll be using as a boot drive. I was looking at the Samsung 970 series of NVMe drives, but because I was able to get a 500GB WD drive for the same price as a 250GB Samsung, I decided to try out the SN750. I've put a 1TB SN750 into my girlfriend's computer and have had 0 complaints with it to date. I will be doing a build video on that computer eventually, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to turn on the notifications so you can see when that video goes up. For the RAM, I finally found a set of G.Skill Trident Z Neo in stock at a Canadian retailer. So I bought it shortly before recording this video. I purchased a 32GB kit containing 2 sticks of 16GB DDR4 modules at 3600 MHz speed, with latency timings of 16, 19, 19, 39. I was looking at the 16, 16, 16, 36 latency kit, but wasn't willing to pay an additional $125 Canadian for a performance increase that I'm probably not going to be able to notice. As it is, I picked up this kit for $275 Canadian. As I ordered it this morning, I don't have it to unbox and show it to you, so I will do an unboxing video on it when it arrives. I like the look of this kit, with half black, half brushed aluminum heatsink, and the LED strip on top looks really sharp in the pictures and videos that I've seen. I haven't actually seen this kit in person, as the Neo kits have been pretty scarce in Canada, and when I do see them, they are usually at insane prices, so I was glad to get this kit for the price that I did. The last part that I have purchased so far is my power supply. I really like the Corsair power supplies due to their well-built design, quiet and sometimes silent fan settings, as well as the look of the included cabling, and I try to stick to them in my builds as often as I can. For this build I went with the Corsair RM750X 2018, and I was able to pick it up in the white variant. This is a 750 watt fully modular power supply and is 80 plus gold efficiency rated. I can't speak to the performance of this particular unit yet, as this is still an ongoing build and I haven't installed it yet. As far as the aesthetics of it, I'm very happy with it. I didn't realize it at the time of purchase, but this power supply came with white cables. That's going to save huge on extra cost for aftermarket cables, so that was a really nice surprise. It also came with a storage bag for the unused cables. I am confident I'm going to be happy putting this power supply into this build. That's it for the parts I've been able to buy before the market uncertainty that started in mid-March of 2020 surrounding the global pandemic. So unfortunately I likely won't be buying more parts until all of this is over and the prices in stock look like they have stabilized. I've also been holding off on purchasing my CPU and my graphics card because of the rumors around 4th gen Ryzen processors, as well as AMD's Big Navi GPUs and Nvidia's 30 series GPUs. If any of those products start launching, that should help lower the prices on the parts that I have left to purchase. As far as the parts I have left to purchase, as I mentioned, I'm still in need of a CPU. I was originally looking at a Ryzen 7 3700X or 3800X. Both are 8-core, 16-thread processors that have a slightly different clock speed and about a $50 Canadian price difference. Since getting into the YouTube channel and video editing, I am now looking at the AMD Ryzen 9 3900X. I don't think I have a need for the 16-core 3950X, but I think the 12-core 24-thread 3900X will handle all of my editing and streaming requirements without thinking twice about it. So I am currently leaning towards the 3900X. I'm still debating between the 3800X and 3900X, but leaning towards the 3900X. As far as the graphics card goes, I really want an Nvidia 2080 Ti. However, I can't justify the almost $1,600 to $2,000 Canadian price tag that goes with it. So for that reason, I've settled on a Gigabyte GeForce RTX 2080 Super 8GB Aorus. I say settled, but I would be happy with this card. It will handle the 4K gaming that I hope to do, albeit at slightly reduced visual fidelity, as well as handle all of my streaming and video editing requirements. And I can always add a second card or upgrade to a newer card in the future if I'm finding I need more oomph. I am still holding out, hoping that AMD and Big Navi can compete with the 2080 Ti and bring a lower price point. I am going to have to wait and see how all of that plays out, however. My graphics card will likely be the last part that I purchase as I wait to see how the high-end competition proceeds. If I do end up getting a 2080 Ti, I will be looking at the Asus ROG Strix Gaming OC as it has a white fan shroud and will fit in nicely with the rest of the build. For additional storage, I intend to add a second M.2 NVMe and I'm going to stick with the Western Digital SN750, but I will be adding a 2TB NVMe for game and file storage. I am also considering adding a couple of large mechanical drives for video files related to Spartan entertainment and electronics, but that will be a future consideration depending on how the channel grows and what requirements I develop for storage. The last couple of components I'm going to group together because they come from the same manufacturer. That same manufacturer we've seen pop up in a few other parts categories on this list. For case fans, I've decided to go with the Corsair LL120s, mostly for the looks. I can get these fans in white and they have fully addressable RGB. I've been keeping my eye on the 3-piece kit that comes with the Lighting Node Pro controller. I've seen the kit go on sale for $100 Canadian once, and I've seen it come down to $120 regularly. I can always add more fans as I go along, but the 3-piece kit will give me a good start for case temperature control, especially adding the all-in-one cooler I will be using for the CPU. Speaking of which, my final component for this build, also coming from Corsair, is an all-in-one cooler. The Corsair Hydro Series H100i RGB Platinum SE in white. A lot of the decision for the Corsair components is software controllability from one program and not multiple. I also like the Corsair products, so why not? I think as far as the AIO goes, the H100i will more than sufficiently meet my needs and keep either processor I go with in happy temperature ranges. I intend on picking up a couple of peripherals to go with this system. I'm wanting to set up a mild racing sim rig, so I'm looking at the Logitech G920 for that, as I will also use it on my Xbox One and the Forza games that I have on there. In addition to the wheel and pedal set, I am looking at a stand for that set. Not sure which one to go with, as there are quite a few options on Amazon. Let me know in the comments which wheel stand you're using and which ones you might be looking at. The other add-on that I'm looking at for this system is the Thrustmaster T-Flight HOTUS 1 joystick and throttle set for plane simulation games. So there it is, the ridiculously overpowered personal computer that I'm building because I chose to quit smoking. Now that I'm doing a YouTube channel, I intend to do unboxing videos of the rest of the parts for this system as I acquire them. So in part, this video is being used as an up-to-date part list prior to starting the unboxing videos. Somewhere on the screen should be cycling the tally of parts and prices to date, to which I will re-summarize and add to as I get to doing the unboxing videos. I am thinking of doing an assembly video as well when I go to assemble this computer, which I would then turn around and edit on the new computer. Let me know in the comments if seeing that build go together is something you would be interested in. Thanks for checking out this video today and going on my quitting smoking adventure with me. I look forward to sharing the unboxing videos with you over the next months as I get the rest of the parts in for this system. If you like this video and want to see more content from me similar to this, please like and share this video, as well as subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you can be in the loop when I upload new videos. Let's chat in the comments about this build and what you would do differently, or about your computer. If you're in the market for a new computer and aren't sure about building it yourself, send me an email at spartanene@gmail.com and I will chat with you about getting a parts list together and a quote if needed for your new system. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.